All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Keno Mullings. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Mullings Group, a software development agency right here in good old Rhode Island. I'm also the founder of the Institute of Entrepreneurship and Leadership. So the Mullings Group, we're about connecting people, software, and strategy to create solutions of value. In other words, we help software or any company deliver software products on time, on budget, and on spec. And IEL, Institute of Entrepreneurship and Leadership, we're a 501c3 nonprofit here in Rhode Island, and we help folks start businesses. We do a holistic approach to business development. So that is, we spend half of our course focused just on the entrepreneur. Because if you're a messed up individual, you will be an even more messed up entrepreneur and destroy your family and your life. I guarantee it. So we spend a lot of time on that. And then the second half, we focus on what we call the gravy of entrepreneurship. So what do you need to get started? So we don't talk about business plans, gasp, at all. Because a startup is a business without a soul. You can call it that, right? A startup is a business without a soul. You don't know if you're going to exist. You don't know if you're going to survive. So all the things and the headache of creating a business plan is somewhat unnecessary, unless you need to do it to raise money or you're doing things that people can die. So you need a business plan for that. But otherwise, there are other tools that you can use. And these are tools that we're going to use today. Now, starting a tech company versus starting a regular organization is slightly different. You have to decide, are you a tech company or a company that uses tech? Very important differentiator. So before I dive into that, you might be wondering, well, what makes you the guy who gets to stand in front of us and tell us stuff and we're supposed to listen to you? Well, who is an expert? What makes an expert?
They get paid to do it.
Yeah.
Mastery of the subject.
Mastery of the subject. That's more correct than yours. It's not mastery. It's that I know more than you at this moment, so now I'm the expert. That's it. I mean, I've found in most corporations, if you really drill the folks at the top that get paid to do it, that their expertise is often limited. They just know a little bit more and have failed a little bit more and have come through the other side of that failure, which you hope they have mastery, and that makes them an expert, right? So my first program was written at, I'm trying to remember the exact date, about the summer of '87, just before I turned 11, just before I started high school in Jamaica. Now, high school in Jamaica, we don't have the concept of middle school. So high school starts at grade 7, right?
Born.
Yeah, right. That's when you're born.
Yeah.
It's youngin', right? So that's when I did my first program. My dad said, hey, I read Jamaica Pegasus Hotel are doing programming courses. Do you want to sign up? Programming, what's that? Sure. My mother I go to my mother's office. She would use computers, huge boxes. You remember those floppies? 5 1/4? Well, they came bigger than that, and tape drive or actual big, look like movie reels. So that was my exposure to, computers, DOS, the white screen, well, no, it was the monochrome green and orange.
Yes.
And then you got high tech and you had gray, monochrome gray. So I remember loving, GW Basic, I'm really dating myself now, was my first programming language. And what fascinated me was that I can type things into this thing, Apple II Junior, first computer that I programmed on, and it will do something. So I tried straight away to do AI. And my version of AI was, I would program my program would ask me questions and it would just parrot back what I asked it. So that was AI. What's your name? Keno. What's your favorite color? Blue. Hi, Keno. Your favorite color is blue. My first AI program. And so I fell in love with software development ever since, now running a software development agency. I studied as a double E at Northeastern, did a 10-year stint at EMC, but I always did programming. Because one of the fascinating things about software development is that you create something out of nothing, right? Nothing existed, now voila, it is there and it's doing really cool stuff. But what I've also learned over the years doing software development is that we can get it oh so wrong. And we can spend a lot of time, waste a lot of time, and waste a lot of money because we got it wrong. So at our school, at IEL, and in our business, we have condensed what it takes to design and scope software projects in a way that your development team will be very happy with you, and in a way that should save you time, money, and help you to deliver on spec, okay? So what are we going to talk about? So we're going to talk about software design and communication concepts. We're going to, look at, and again, this is all 101, like really high level. We're going to understand who are the users of a software product, and we're going to use the value proposition canvas, really cool tool, developed by a company called Strategizer, headed by Alex Osterwalder. Say that fast 3 times. And we're going to evaluate the business model behind the software product using the business model canvas. So that's what we're going to do today. It's really important when designing or developing software to communicate properly, to have some baseline for how we're going to talk, because you could cross cultures, you could cross genders, you could cross so many things that would cause you to use words differently. I know that clearly, being from Jamaica, speaking English, coming to America, speaking English, but there are words that just mean different, that have different meanings. I remember one time someone said, what's up, dog? And I was rather insulted. I was like, how dare you call me a dog? So I replied, what's up, dog, in Jamaican patois, and I was insulting him, and he didn't realize, even though he just said a friendly hello. So we have to have a very, baseline way that we communicate, because things like this can happen, right? Now, in this case, if you remember in the 80s, Windows, this was Windows, before there's Windows NT, remember those old Windows machines? You had folks that would build software like this because it did exactly what they wanted, and they didn't care who else used the application. If you remember Visual Basic, that allowed you to do things, what we call citizen developers, so not software developers, just anyone with the program, open it up, drop some things on the screen, add some code behind it, and voila, it's working. Guess what? It's coming back. It's called low code, no code. It will recycle, will repeat itself. Where the madness, now you have folks UXs of things, so it's not going to be as bad, but the madness will continue. So here's what else you can have with bad design. I love this cartoon, not mine, I forgot who, but how the customer explained the application, right? How the project leader understood it, how the analyst designed it, how the programmer wrote it, how the business consultant described it, of course, how it was documented, how it was installed, how it was built, how it was supported, and what the customer really needed. So you can grab a few things from this diagram, from this cartoon, is that the customer doesn't always know what they want, right? And the customer doesn't always know, and you, the entrepreneur, you're the customer, you don't always know how to articulate what it is that you're designing and scoping, what it is that you want to build. One of the things that you should never, ever, ever, ever do is to lead a conversation with your potential development team, telling them what technology to use, because then you're doing this, right? Saying things like, we want it to be on Amazon because Amazon never goes down, which is not true. You remember the internet crash of 2000 something another? Amazon data center went down. You want to keep the conversation on a level of, this is what I want the software to accomplish. And let them use their expertise to recommend the technology stacks, and then you can do your due diligence after that. Think of another one. So here, I need a system to record my customers' details. Simple. So no problem, quick, just a few questions. And then this is things that the tech person, the mistakes that they will make, where they start using jargon. So GUI or CLI, do you want to autosave, remote browser access? What about security, private key encryption, 64-bit, 128-bit? They start asking all these things, and it's like, well, just do it, just make it happen. And then you get something that you absolutely didn't want or couldn't imagine. Like, I thought we were speaking the same language. So when you're designing and scoping a software application, there's some things that are very, very important. And if you can walk into your first meeting with these things, you're way ahead of the game. And so the first thing is user roles. Who is using the application? Like, who is actually sitting and typing? We don't mean their business titles. So, HR and management and, engineering. Well, what's their role? What's their function as they use the applications? You want to list and define those user roles. Now, user stories. For every user role, and if we have time, I'll do a bonus section on user stories. for every user role, what are they going to be doing? Describe that and make it very singular. So when you're describing, so let's say a banking application. So as a client, I want to be able to deposit money. I want to be able to transfer money from one account to another account. Very specific, very singular. And there's more that you can add to describing your user stories. And data structure. Now, this might be a bit of a stretch, but what do you want stored on the application? And what responsibility do you have for storing that data? Here's what I mean by that. If you have medical records, anything medical, then you have to be HIPAA compliant. And there's a whole lot of things and hot water you can get into for not being HIPAA compliant. If you're accepting online payment through credit cards or ACH, well, where's that information going to be stored? Is it touching your systems at any time? Then you have to be PCI compliant. And that's a whole nother set of things that you have to be aware of. So understanding what is being stored, even at a high level, walking into that meeting will have a more fruitful conversation. And then finally, screens. This is less important in your first meeting, but if you have an idea of how do you want to capture, what's the flow that you want each of these roles to go through, right, called UX, what's the experience, the user experience that you want to see? Well, this is more for a preliminary conversation, all right? So far, so good? So you're halfway there if you can walk into a meeting with these things in hand. Half the way there, I promise you. Now, what else is important? Of course, I said the user experience. That's when I mentioned the screen. Creating an application for consumers is very different than creating an application for businesses or an application that's going to be used internally. So if you're a company that uses technology versus a technology company, why is it different? Well, you may spend a lot of money and time and resources and hire the best designer if it's consumer facing, versus if you're just your people is using it, well, it can be a little bit ugly, right? Or if it's an application that's for other businesses, then there's certain expectations. So understanding the user and having an organization that can walk you through that user experience is very important. Remember, not because someone can use Photoshop, they're a UX designer, right? It's very different. So the user experience isn't just on the computer. The user experience starts before you even get to the computer. What's their mood? What are they feeling? What are they thinking about? So for example, let's say you had a warehouse application and the application was to tell someone who worked in the warehouse that they had to go and pick like a pick list. So they had to go to the shelf and they had to get all these different things from the shelf. Well, this person may be doing it for 10 hours that day and they don't want to have to squint to read. They're maybe a bit annoyed or tired. So you want to take all of that into account. So whenever you're doing user experience, it's always important to take that into account. Now, where's the best place to get user experience information and feedback?
From users?
From the user, exactly. It's obvious, right? Security. Now, security was always a thing, but now it's a thing. You want to build your application security first. You want to know how can you get hacked, right? Ask some really, really young folks who play video games. How would you hack my application? But you want to have security first in mind. So that would mean, encrypting certain pieces of data, separating where your user information is stored, so forth. So you definitely want to keep security in mind and always ask the question, is this secure? How are you going to be secure? And then finally, testability. So there's a concept of shift left, which means once upon a time, testing was done after. So you build the application, then you toss it over the wall and say, hey, test this. And then they toss it back and say it's broken. And you're like, no, it's not. And so developers and testers, right, often called QA, but QA is way more than testing, are in arguments. So what you want to ensure or ask the question, how is this going to be tested? If you're buying something online, can I actually go through an entire purchase process, right? So I think this would be a good time, Sean, since you're going to be my guinea pig. So just say your name really loud in your application.
My name is Sean McBride. My business.
Yeah, your business and the software that we're going to talk about today.
Calling it Vecino.
Vecino.
It's essentially still working on describing it, but it's like a database for all local small businesses
Mm-hmm,
that can be searched on one website
mm-hmm.
and then coordinate delivery. So database and logistics.
Okay, so it's like a courier service for small businesses.
Right. As
Yeah.
well as like an entire online marketplace
Okay.
where people can find all of the inventory of all those businesses. So
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's an online market. So it's like DoorDash, but for everything. You know, it's like Amazon meets DoorDash for local business.
Right.
Cool. All right.
I try my best not to use those names to describe it, but yeah.
But you have to. So here's a quick tip, right? You saw the Matrix? If you have not, I'm gonna
Yeah.
send you out. Okay, good. All right.
All of them.
So, ones and zeros, right? It's patterns. And so, a gift to a development team is when you can describe a pattern, when you can say it's like, because now I have in my mind, okay, if it's like this, I know those patterns. We've seen those things before. And you don't have to use extra words, because if you say it's like Amazon, what do you do on Amazon? You buy stuff from people. Okay, I'm buying stuff from people. But wait, it's for local businesses. Okay, so I'm zooming into Providence and I'm buying local. All right, I like this now,
Yeah.
and it's like DoorDash. Oh, so I get delivery instantly, not next day, because I can't wait till tomorrow. All right. So, all right. So now, by using less words, I understand, I think clearly
Yes. you
what you're trying to do. All right. So in your case, testability would be, how do you test that whole process of a company actually onboarding themselves, entering their inventory, someone purchasing the product, and then the drivers or because the company, I'm assuming your system will have drivers picking up the product, delivering the product, and the payment cycle complete, and then some feedback as to how was the service.
Yeah.
So being able to test that entire cycle is really, really important, right? Very, very important. All right, next thing is build incrementally. Oftentimes, when designing and scoping our software application, folks will start listing. It's okay to list everything you want, but don't build everything you can ever conceive of right off the bat. Especially don't go look at competitors and add all of their features just because they have it, because now you have made your application so broad. And guess what? The more requirements you have, the more it's going to cost, the longer it's going to take, and the higher the probability that something will go wrong. It's more moving parts, right? So you want to do what's called an MVP, minimum viable product. So build just what's necessary to prove that your business will work. Just what's necessary to start generating revenue and a repeatable business process. And so, so once you have achieved that, then you start adding other features. And guess what? You don't decide what features to add next. You let your customers decide. So it's customer-driven development. Look up Stephen Blank for more on that one. Or if you're like Steve Jobs, he was like, we'll tell you what you want. So that's really bold. And it works sometimes if it's a brand new market, like if it's never been done before. If you can't say it's like this and this, and it's so new, then, that's a whole different paradigm. But usually, most things are a bit of this, a bit of that with your own spin on it. Any questions so far? All right. So when you're designing and scoping tech projects and you're thinking, all right, I'm ready to build. Oftentimes we think about just how much is it going to cost me to build it now? But what goes into the cost? Well, it's the scope. How many requirements do you have? How many features? How many interacting pieces? How many players do I have to take care of? So that is scope. What's the infrastructure? Oh, I'll talk about that with resources. Time. How long is it going to take? Because if you've delayed getting into market, that could cost you, right? Because you're too late to market. So you need to know the time and the resources. Do you have a competent team to build the application? Do they have all the skill sets? What's the infrastructure that this platform is going to run on? I love .NET, right? But .NET probably will be a bit more expensive if that pops up, if you hear that term. than if you use another platform. It will have the same result. Like if I asked you what programming language does Facebook use as a consumer, do you know? No. Do you even care? Yes, as long as Facebook works, as long as the application that you're using works, you don't care about the technology stack. So don't get caught up in the hype of the new cool toys that are out there. I'll tell my students the best programming language is the one you know, because you can use that to accomplish the tasks at hand. So as long as it checks all the boxes that you need to check, let your team, guide you with the development stack and lean towards the one that will cost you less now, but more importantly, in the long run. If that team goes away, can you get a new team to replace them? All right, so we're going to shift a bit. So that's kind of all the overarching things that you need to think about as you're designing and scoping your product or building your product. So we're going to zoom in a little bit and talk about value proposition design. And this will help you to, as you've identified your user roles, to ensure that those user roles are connected to your market segment, right? So this, what we're going to talk about now, it's all about the business itself, right? And we're talking about how does the business connect to the application that you're building. If you're building something just because, hey, I need an app. Well, why? Because everybody has an app. Well, because they need an app. Does your business need an app? Does your following, does your tribe, does your market segment, would they even download your app with the millions and billions of applications that are there? Or could you just do with a website, a web application versus a mobile app? So things like that. So the value proposition canvas is used to determine problem solution fit. So you've identified this is the problem and this is the solution. It's not we build it and they will come. You're scientifically figuring this out. And you're also figuring out product market fit, because you can understand the product and you can, the problem, I should say, and you can understand the solution to that problem, but you can have the wrong product or the wrong timing. Remember NetVan, right? When the bubble popped, right? NetVan was a pioneer on grocery delivery. It was too early, right? Too early, or they didn't, articulate it well. Or Segway, we use it in conversation now, right? Segway was supposed to revolutionize transportation, but they didn't have the problem solution fit, I think, because Segways are cool. But I don't think they had a good product market fit. All right, so here's the business model on value proposition canvas. I highly, highly, highly recommend all you entrepreneurs print this out, get the PDF, strategizer.com, I think. 3 feet by 2 feet, pin it up on your wall and use Post-its and go at it. It's that simple. It will save you lots of headache. We actually, at our organization, we converted this to a slide deck so we can share easily and version control if needs be. But this will be your friend. This should be your friend. And so it's divided into 2 sections. One section is all about your customer, right? Who will be your user role for your technology or your software application. And so here, when we say designing and scoping tech projects, we're talking specifically software applications, not hardware tech, right? But this can be used for any, right? Your business, even if you're tech or non-tech, these models can be used. So print this out, pin this up, use your sticky notes. And so we have the customer side, the problem side, and the solution side. So let's dive in. All right, so let's start talking about customer jobs. So Sean, right? So Uber meets DoorDash for local, right? Who are your customers? We're going to pick one to talk about.
Well, in a way, I think I'm serving 2 sets of customers.
Yep, 2-sided market.
Yeah, so one is what I call the clients,
Mhm.
or the businesses, helping them have more online presence, web presence, as
Mhm.
well as a delivery service, which
Mhm.
a lot of these people don't have. And then my real customers are the ones that are purchasing products from those clients through my system.
Okay.
So
So one is called client and the other is called what?
customer.
Customer. So client and customer. Okay. All right, so from an application perspective, if I log into your software as your client, do I think of myself as a client or a business?
They look at themselves as a business. Yeah, so
Right.
I'm like a service for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So your application should probably follow suit.
Okay.
Right, in just thinking, well, this is how I think. I don't think of
Approach.
myself, I'm serving my clients.
Sure.
So when I see clients on your application, I'm like, oh, is that me or is that the person I serve? Right? So like you're in real estate. So, who pays the bills? The buyer or the seller?
Seller pays
Who brings the check? The buyer or the seller?
for the property, the buyer.
So the buyer pays the bills, right? The seller authorizes, but ultimately,
Yeah.
if the buyer doesn't show up, nobody gets paid. Right? So your customer, you're right, in terms of the customer is the one paying, is going to utilize the service, right? And bring the money so that your businesses will pay the subscription. But for your business, you can make money on both sides, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So we'll pick one. So pick one to talk about, the business or
Customer.
customer.
Yeah.
All right, so, customer, hi, I'm your customer. What am I trying to accomplish that you care about? So that's it. What are the jobs, loosely defined, your customers are trying to accomplish,
Well, they want options as far as products they want to buy.
So product options,
And, ideally, I'm trying to hit a market that appreciates local products.
so I want local product options, okay. So I'm looking to buy local,
Right.
okay, so I'm buying local, all right, what else?
And they want ease of service, so they want the product delivered.
So in the buy local and I want it delivered because it's COVID, or I don't feel like leaving my house, or I'm
Yeah.
used to not leaving my house. And
Yeah.
Instacart to school, gotcha,
So try to meet that trend.
okay. Okay, all right, so the question is, so it begs the question, because I just said it, why wouldn't I use Instacart?
Why wouldn't you?
Mhm.
So they primarily do groceries. They have expanded a little bit, but my service will cover any product of any store.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so that's what I'm trying to, so I'm buying local, and I have some pains. What challenges do I have today?
Challenges do you have?
Mhm.
Well, if you can't go to the store, local store, or you're not used to going to a local store, you might be, and you want something delivered and be able to find it online easily, typically going to just a handful of websites, even maybe just one or two, Amazon or eBay, something like that.
Mhm.
So we're giving an alternative to that.
Yeah, okay, and I can help you as well. Local businesses may not have an easily accessible website. I don't know they exist.
Right.
I know you exist. Why do people go to Amazon? Because it exists on Amazon,
Yeah.
right? There's high probability that it will exist there somehow.
So
And
that's the primary driver of what I'm trying to do.
Right,
Give
so
them a platform where they're all more visible. Where
right,
they can all have a,
so we're describing it from my perspective.
sure,
My perspective is not there's a platform that's all visible, is that I can't find them, now I can go someplace
right.
where it's all visible. So you're
Sure.
empathizing with me. I
You're
think
the
empathy
customer.
map is another
Okay.
term for this, right? So that's a pain. I don't know where to find local businesses. That's huge. Is there anything else you can think of?
not at the moment.
All right, that's cool. And so gain, so what would make me happy? So in, doing the stuff, finding local businesses to shop at, I can't find them, there's no single place, I have to hop all over the place. What would make me happy? What would make me smile as a customer?
Having singular location to search these products. And-
Single location to find these products.
And then in doing so, you're also learning about the local stores that are in the market.
Okay, so I feel
So,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I can pat myself on the
You're saying,
shoulder.
wow, they have this shirt that I wanted, or
Yeah,
they have this hammer that I need.
Yeah.
Things like that.
okay, cool. So I feel good, I can find what I want, and I feel good, and I'm supporting my local economy.
You're really challenging me today.
Oh, I am. I hope this is
I
good.
haven't gone this far yet.
Yeah, no, I hope. No, this is good. This is good for you. All right, so now this is what you've described. Now, from here on in, if what you're designing and scoping does not match this, then it's wrong. Right? Because this is all an assumption, by the way. It's your best guess, right? It's your Vulcan guess,
Sure.
right? Vulcan guess reference. No?
Start.
Yes, where Kirk said to Spock, Spock did it, give me your guess, and Spock like, that's madness. What do you mean I guess? And Kirk says, well, your guess is better than most men's wisdom. Come on, guys, you have to do the movie references with me.
I caught it.
Yeah, so this is your Vulcan guess as to who you're building this platform for, right? And so if you're doing something like, I had a student once, and they had a transportation service, and they asked, well, should I install a sound system, quality sound system, private transportation? Like, well, your clients, can they afford that sort of sound system? Yeah. Do they have it? Yeah, and better. Do they care? No. What do they care about? Well, that there's an armed driver. That's where you spend your money. Forget spending money on the sound system.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So over here, product or service. And your product is, what's the name again?
Sean.
No, the product name.
Oh, Vecino.
Vecino. So Vecino, right? So what Vecino, you're linking Vecino to this. So Vecino is a platform that allows customers to find and purchase local products, right? So you're always connecting section to section, right? I'm looking for local products to buy, to patronize. Vecino allows them to find local, buy local, and get it today. Actually, you should write that down. Find local, buy local, get it today.
How much do I owe you?
Yeah, it's that Nigerian restaurant they just told me about. Yeah,
I'll get you lunch.
you can get me lunch, right? I'm just kidding. So then now you have pain relievers. So now you have to describe the pain that you identified. How is your application going to solve that? And mind you, this tool is also great for marketing, right? Because you're getting to the actual pain points and you're highlighting them, right? When you have to do your pitch night comes up and you have to talk about what's your value proposition and so forth. You're getting it all from here, hence value proposition canvas, right? All right, so your pain is that I can't find local businesses. So now your pain reliever that you articulate is one stop, one place for all local businesses. Now there's some things that we're gonna have to deal with when we talk about your business model canvas. Hopefully we have time, I'll move faster. But how do you ensure that you have all the local businesses on your platform, right? So that's a pain in and of itself, but that's your pain reliever. And then your gain creator, we talked about, that they can find local businesses, that they know about the local businesses, that they see the value of their impact and things like that. Well, so now you can articulate, that Vecino allows local businesses to be able to tell their story. Vecino allows local businesses to articulate the value of the customer. And by so doing, you can share, right, to the customer. Vecino, I'm making up features for you, but you could say Vecino has a local warrior gaming system or badge. So the more local you buy, the more badges you buy. And once a year, we're going to celebrate or publish in PBN or Providence Journal, the #1 local shopper of the year, right? So that feel good, right? Vecino can facilitate that because that you're buying local. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. So once you do this, you're not going to take did I have a chat?
No, it's all me asking questions.
Oh, okay.
Sound.
All right. So now, like I said, once this is your best guess, your Vulcan guess, now you have to test, right? So all these assumptions that we just talked about, you're gonna make some more notes after you watch the recording, is that you have to go out and ask your customers, does this make sense? Right? Is this a problem? Have I identified a problem? Yes. Is this a correct solution? Yes. Well, this is how I'm going to sell or solve that problem. And this is what I'm going to charge for it. Will you pay for it? Will you patronize it? Yes or no, right? The times that we're in your high, I think personally, that the probability of a yes is greater now than before COVID. Because I didn't know about Instacart until COVID, or I may have, but I didn't care because I'm going to drive to the grocery store. Now, during COVID, we never left the house. We only used Instacart. Now, post-COVID, we drive to the store, but now Instacart is an option. Like, I don't feel like driving. I'll use Instacart because I know about it. I have an account and things like that. So you have to test. You have to test. Now, realize I'm not talking about software features yet. But how are you going to create your software features if you don't understand who you're creating the features for? Make sense?
Yes.
And oftentimes, folks, when they're doing software development, they start with the tactics. Like, it needs to be that, it needs to do that. Make sure it has 2FA, two-factor authentication. Make sure you can do this, stop. Do not talk about the technical and the tactics. Talk about what it is that you're accomplishing, the strategy. Yeah. All right, so the business model, same company, same fellow. The business model canvas is a great tool for helping you to describe your business. I call it the business plan killer. Because if you have done these tools very well, you will be able to use the information here and create your business plan. But you pivot a whole lot faster with these tools, and pivot you will. I guarantee it. So here's how you read this, right? You have to go with me. How do I get value to my customers through these channels while maintaining these relationships and getting this revenue? Right? I'm getting value to customers through these channels, getting these and maintaining this relationship, and I'm being validated by this revenue.
I have seen so many people explain this in different ways, and this is the first time it made sense.
It made sense to you? Awesome. Awesome.
Like-
Because we think about it too. You're validated by revenue. Because here's my definition of business. It's heresy, but I don't care, right? Businesses do not exist to make money. So pause for the gasp, right? Right. Businesses exist to solve problems. Now, to the ability or the extent that you can solve problems and market, advertise, let people know that you're solving these problems, right? Then you will make money. So making money is the proof of good business. Business is a platform for you to be who you're designed to be and those who are around you. That is what good business is. Google will make money night and day. Why? They give you the coolest email program ever. They give you a search program that did just that, search, right? Remember the Yahoo portal? You had Yahoo Finance, you had all these things, but I just wanted to search, and Google did that. Search, fast, cool, right? So we're getting value to customers through these channels, maintain these relationships, and validated by this revenue. That's this side. In order to get value to customers through these channels, maintain relationships, and be validated by this revenue, you need key resources. And an emphasis on key. What's the most important things that you need in order to make this happen? What are the most important things that you need in order to make this happen? What are the most important partnerships you need in order to make this happen? And what are the costs what's all this going to cost, right? Your key resources, activities, and partners. And what is the activities in getting value to customers through channels, maintain relationships, and being validated by said revenue. Right? All right, so let's jump in really quick. Let's do a time check. All right, we're doing good. So there we go. So what problems are you solving? Whose needs are you satisfying? And who are you creating value for? So Sean, that's your customers, right? So you said businesses and customers, right? Businesses and customers. That's what we call them. Yeah. Consumers. I like that better. Businesses and consumers. Yeah. Methinks that you may have other potential customers here.
I do.
I think because you have data, you have raw data on what scrub names and addresses and all that, but you have raw data on how people buy local, when people buy local. You can layer that with geopolitical and environmental conditions and seeing what those impact on how people buy in different locales. Yeah, you can see if the price goes up, let's say this national, 10 years from now, you're already at a 1 billion unicorn valuation. you're seeing, the price of potatoes in Idaho went up. How does it affect milk in California? I don't know, but correlation is not causation, but you're starting to see that pattern. So that data is now very, 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 very valuable to municipalities, to local government, to marketing firms, to a whole bunch of folks is data. Yeah. All right. So that's another one to put an asterisk, put it on your pitch deck, right? Because I think you'll raise money more for that data than for anything else. All right. So we already identified our customer segments. And who are you trying to serve, right? Remember, we're solving problems, serving people. So value propositions. Now, guess where you get this from? Oops, go back. You get this from your value proposition canvas, right? And we said, so which one of your customers' problems are you solving? Needs are you satisfying? Value that you're delivering? You're helping your customers find and support local businesses. You're helping local businesses get customers. Yeah. And you're helping, I think the other one said, we're helping, people feel good about shopping local, that whole feel good sentiment. Never underestimate the power of the feel good sentiment, right? People feel good about doing, if you think about it, entities will stop buying from another entity, not because it's an inferior product, but because they feel bad about buying from that entity. Yeah, so it's all about feel good. All right, so channels. So remember, value to customers through these channels. And so for you, how do your customers communicate with you? Where are you going to deliver your platform? So, I don't know if you've given this any thought, but one thing comes off the top is where do businesses gather? But that's one side of your market, right? So maybe you're the chambers of commerce, right? That's definitely an important place. If you're thinking of new businesses, not just existing businesses, then the co-sharing accelerator groups, innovation studio, all those places around, that's another place to find businesses and to advertise your wares. So understanding where these people are. And then on the consumer side, well, where do they shop? Where do they look? It's online, it's all digital, right? Now, how does this impact my software, Keno? You're asking, Sean. Good question. Well, if you think about it, you're spending money for marketing, right? So it would behoove you to understand where your customers are coming from. Well, you're selling a digital product where the close is them purchasing and using that product. So you need to track that digital footprint. That's something you have to build in your application. That's a user story. That's a feature you have to capture. If you want if people are coming from social media, then you might want to have where, as a consumer, I want to be able to sign up for this application using Facebook. As a consumer, I want to sign up for this application using Instagram. Why would I do that? As a consumer, I want to share the picture of what I'm purchasing on my Instagram platform. See the connection? Now, if I said, hey, connect to Instagram for businesses or TikTok, there's one. I don't think I'll ever use TikTok. We'll see. I didn't think I'd use Facebook, but I got forced into it. But TikTok, and I said, hey, I want to connect to TikTok, but you don't have this validation, right? Then it doesn't make sense. And it makes sense for us, Sean, our business, because we said that people want to feel good. And where do people tell everyone that they're feeling good? On social media. So you should have that social media connection. That makes sense?
Yep.
All right, cool. So customer relationships. So because we have that strong feel-good element, you better not have a text-only customer support, or press 1, press 2, press 3, press 4. You better have, you remember ING, that online bank? Yeah, when banks were given like incredible interest rates online and the new online banks emerged, and ING, you call them, less than 10 rings, you spoke to a person. That's probably something that you're going to have. Someone, and not just any person, someone who speaks and knows the culture of the municipality, of where they're calling from. Yeah. And there are ways you can do this, right? So if you have a caller from the app, maybe one way you could detect the zip code. And from the zip code, you know what state that person is calling from, and you know where to route the call. And the person could answer on the script that pops up on the screen when that call comes in, because you have now a massive, an automation system. hey, I hear you're calling from Massachusetts or Rhode Island, Sean. And it's like, oh, no, I hear you're calling from Massachusetts, Keno. Oh, no, I only have a Mass number. I actually live in Rhode Island. Oh, you do? Hold on one moment while we transfer you to our Rhode Island agents. Right? So, I'm talking when you're a $1 billion company. In the beginning, it's just you answering all the calls and switching accents, right? For everywhere. So, which you can do, right? So understanding that customer relationship, we talked about having the badges. So the more you buy local, the more you get some points. And now your past part of your customer relationship. I want to be told that I'm special and I'm doing something great, right? Here's another side asterisk for you. Now, crypto is all the rage, right? And when you start seeing crypto and AI and VR and AR, those are the cool things that investors like to hear. So in addition to giving badges or points, now you can start thinking, well, could I mint some coin? So now can I have a Sean coin? You get a Sean coin that you can use. Every time you do something cool, we mint some coin and we give it to you. And now you have a whole nother side business going on just cryptocurrency. I think you're going to see that trend where points and crypto, there's going to be a lot of merging there. So now, in going through this process, we've got some extra ideas, but you're not going to do them now because it's not part of your MVP, right? Unless when you're talking to folks, they say, you know what, Sean, if I could get some cryptocurrency, daggone it, I'll sign me up tomorrow. Then, you change and you do just that. All right, so customer relationships. So value to customers through the stream, through the channels, maintain the relationships, and be validated by this revenue. So the question is, how do you make money, right? What values are they paying for? This is really important because, for example, Google, right? Google, not Alphabet. How does Google make money? What kind of a company is Google?
They sell data, right?
Advertising company. Yeah. Advertising. A search company is advertising, right? Whenever you go click, Google goes cha-ching, right? It's an advertising company. So how are you making money? So you're thinking, well, are you going to charge a transaction fee, right? For your consumers? Are you going to charge a subscription? So now they can save their shopping cart and just reorder and things like that. Are you just going to copy paste Instacart, right? Or are you going to charge the businesses a subscription fee, right? Well, when we start talking about key resources, the business might say, I'm not paying anything. And then you might have to say, all right, you can onboard for free, but we're going to charge a fee. Well, okay, we do that. We understand that concept with DoorDash. And so now you may say, all right, you get on for free, but you pay extra if you get a landing page that's customizable, right? You pay extra. Now you start adding premium value to get that extra revenue. Now you're seeing all that extra stuff. That's features that you have to design and scope. Follow me so far? Cool beans. All right, so understanding exactly how you're making money, right? So we talked about that for your app shot. Let me see anything here. Okay, so it's also important that you have to think twice before you build something that you can validate how you're getting paid for it. So if you're going to be highly customizable in one area, costing more time, money, resources, and no one's paying for it or even care, no matter how cool it is, don't do it. Don't do it unless your entrepreneurial gut just tells you must do this. They will come, then fine. But if you're going on pure objective, just don't do it. All right, so now let's talk about resources. So they can be physical, intellectual, people. So resources, the one resource right now is your software platform, because you're a tech company, right? I think you're a tech company, or you could be a company using tech, but your software platform, your IP, can you get anything copyrighted or not copyrighted, any patents or anything from your technology? I don't know. But
I have a question. So to be a tech company, do you have to have IP in tech? Is that how it works? Like your IP has to be tech focused?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
So,
you're a company that uses tech?
You have tech companies that have IP that's not tech IP, because having IP is just cool. Having IP is something that's valuable that investors look at. Having IP differentiates you from your competitors because I have it and you don't. I can use it and you can't.
Right.
Right. So it's really what makes you a tech company. That's sort of, ask 10 people to get the 10 different answers. But I'm in the technology space. I peddle wares that are either technology specific or uses technology for them to be delivered. So a company like Zenefits, you ever heard of Zenefits? HR company.
No,
Gusto, payroll company.
no.
All right, let's pick one. I'll describe it. So Zenefits. So Zenefits is an HR. They're an HR. They disrupted the HR industry. But they're saying we're going to give you HR on a SaaS platform, on an app. HR in an app, and it's free. And this is how we make money, by selling you these other things on the side, right? So are they a tech company or an HR company that uses tech? And I would say they're a tech company that sells HR stuff on a tech platform, right? Does that answer your question? I feel like
Yeah.
I skate to the edges up here.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, everybody can define it slightly differently, but there's gotta be whether it's tech first or
Right.
service,
But tech has to be central.
yeah.
Central, yeah.
So somebody like Airbnb, would you
Yeah.
say they're a tech company, or because the service they provide isn't, I mean, it's using the tech, but it's not central tech.
Yeah, I don't know how they define themselves, but I would define them as a tech company.
Okay,
Whereas Hilton, I would not.
right, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
All right, cool. So, and of course, your resources can also be people, but your business, Sean, your resources are also the businesses. Because if you don't have businesses, there'll be no consumers. And if there are no consumers, you won't have businesses. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Your Uber has to have the drivers before they have the riders. You have to have the businesses before you have the consumers. So you might have to do some free stuff for the businesses. Yeah. So, and of course, financial. You're going to need money. All right, software isn't cheap. Do comparison shop. Make sure you have a budget first. So on behalf of software development agencies worldwide, have a budget before you have a conversation. You don't have to. You can be shrewd. You don't have to tell your budget upfront because you don't want anyone to match your budget. But there might come a point where you have to say, "This is all I can afford. What can that give me?" Right? But have a budget upfront. You can't say I have no money because then you're wasting everybody's time. Software isn't free. Software is expensive. You have, what is it? You have your mortgage, right? That's up there. You have weddings, that's up there. You have the car, the house, funerals, and software. It's right up there, right? It is expensive.
So when you say have a budget, when you're hiring people,
Yes.
like software people,
Let-
or
Let me put it as to the bare metal as possible. How much are you willing to lose? Yeah. I do mean lose.
yes,
It's a business. You're a startup, right? Business without a soul, and you could lose it all. So how much are you willing to lose? Yeah. Or how much are you willing to invest with the opportunity of an upside, you being an entrepreneur, or the risk that you could lose it all?
sure.
Right? That's what it means to be an entrepreneur. All right, so resources, that's all the things that you need to bring value to customers through the channels, maintain relationships, validated by the revenue. But your resources are your drivers. So now you thought you just had a platform that's, Amazon meets DoorDash for local. But once you put that meets DoorDash piece, now you have multiple portals. You have a consumer portal, you have a business portal, and now you have a driver portal. So you actually have 3 customers and not 2, because your driver is your customer as well. Why do I want to drive for this platform? Right? That's now a customer that you have to pay very close attention to, because the last thing you want is, I don't know if you've seen the video rating the different delivery companies. The Facebook delivery person does this, and they're saying the difference in quality, of delivery. You want quality drivers, right? Drivers that won't break stuff. Now you have to start thinking, well, if you're delivering for every kind of business, now do you need specific insurance for specific types of businesses, right? Because you're not just moving groceries now you're moving tools, clothing, furniture, there you go, jewelry, right? So those are all things that need to think of when you're building your technology. I know your driver portal, are you going to upload records and manage those records. So now you have to think about, well, what does my driver portal look like? You know, Sean's like, oh no. But you know,
I've
it-
done Uber, so I know.
yeah, so it's good to start thinking about all of these things now, all right? And then your key activities, and I know for sure, one of your key activities will be onboarding those businesses, onboarding those drivers. Businesses are first, because even if you're doing Providence, you're saying we're starting in Providence, and you're the one driving back and forth, delivering everything, you know, like, you know, then that's fine, you know, but you're going to have to onboard drivers pretty soon and think about strategically where you're going to get your drivers from, how are you going to pay your drivers, you know, and all of that. And then, you know, you start, you know, advertising in local places. And the cool thing about Providence, why it's one of the coolest cities in this country, I think, is that we support local. And if you drop the word in the right channels and you get picked up by the right people, 2 degrees of separation, then, you know, it'll work. You know, it will work. You'll get the word out to the consumers. So key resources, key activities, your onboarding process needs to be studied. You know, really easy to onboard, really easy to order as well. Keeping in mind that ordering sushi and ordering tools is not the same thing. Yeah. And keep partnerships. So you may decide, well, you know what, you're not going to do the delivery. You're going to partner with a local courier company, and they're going to take care of the delivery for you, right? I would also consider the businesses partners here as well. You know, because if they're not there, you're not here. Yeah. And then finally, cost structure, right? How much is this going to cost? So remember, we talked about the software costs upfront. You know, so apart from the cost for your business, your infrastructure, et cetera, you know, think about the cost to build the platform, or the cost to maintain the platform, and the cost to enhance the platform as well. Right? So you have all those costs that are you're going to take into account. Okay. All right. So I think this is my last slide. I'm going to make it at 2. No, I passed 2:30.
Okay.
All right, so I'll take 2 more minutes. So in recap, right, we talked about designing and scoping tech projects. Actually, I'll do this first, now do the recap. So I started to talk about the most important things: user roles, user stories, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then I took you through the journey of, well, what's the business behind this? Why are you doing this? And now connecting that to the software application. Any good software development company will start to describe your user stories in like manner. And it is, as a role, I want to be able to do something so that some great outcome. So every user story, as a role, I want to be able to do something, right? The so that is more important for you, but for the developers, as a role, I want to be able to do something. So that helps me to understand context, right? But as a role, I want to be able to do something. Now, we have a very simple way to communicate, right? Because you're telling me, I'm telling you, you're saying this is what you want, I'm telling you this is what's going to be built. So you're saying this is who is doing it. So we understand who that role is from a business perspective, and we also understand who that role is from a development perspective. And we know exactly what they're going to do. So we have the what. But how, you might ask, is this going to be done? So you can say under these different scenarios, right? So as a consumer, I want to be able to create an account I want to be able to create an account. Let's read it high. I'll probably break it down more than this. But so you don't want to break it down too small. That's also, I'm sorry, caveat. If you break the more user stories you have, increase in scope, the more expensive your product is. If your user stories are too huge in terms of it's not detailed enough, then it will take more time. And more time does end up costing you more money. So you have to get it just right. Yeah. So as a user, as a consumer, I want to be able to create an account on this platform. Well, so now I could be create an account using Facebook. So now I'm saying the how, right? Create an account using Facebook. So we're using given when then, right? Good old called Gherkin. So given some condition, when I do something, then this is what I expect. So given that I'm on your platform's website, right? when I click on sign up with Facebook, right? And I accept the Facebook, acceptance thingy, then I expect to be redirected to my profile page, and I expect to get an email that my account is set up. So it's very specific as to the journey that's going to happen. I'm not telling you the color of the screen. I'm not telling you where what's going to be where. That's when you go through the whole design experience. But if you have this, you have the basis of a contract between us. This is what's going to be developed. You have the basis for the designers to then start and do their designing. We have the basis for the testers to start saying, okay, this is my test plan. This is how I'm going to test the application in the happy path, as I call it. Now we can figure out how we're going to maliciously, try and break this thing. You also have, for your folks who are concerned or, specifically concerned about security, well, this is the path. Well, what are the loopholes here? So by having and describing, having this as your end product, you are even well on your way. Now, your software development partner or team should do this for you. But if you can walk in with something even close to this, then you're a rock star. And in terms of the whole designing and scoping tech projects process, this is a perfect thing, right? You don't really have to know much more. You don't have to know about the technology. All you know is that you have a platform that's like Amazon meets DoorDash for hyperlocal individuals. You're serving businesses, consumers, and drivers, right? You're considering rewarding, feel-good reward points using cryptocurrency. You're considering selling data to whoever wants to buy such data, right? But this is your main business. And you can now use this, now that you know who you're serving, what you're doing, you describe the problem solution, you think you have a product market fit, you've understood how you're getting value to customers through channels, maintaining the relationships validated by revenue, you understand your key resources, your key activities, your key partnerships, and the cost, and you see how technology is going to be leveraged. You're a single system, or you might have two systems, one just for the driver, which is just the driver app, right? You know what needs to be mobile. The driver has to be mobile, right? The consumer may or may not be mobile, so you can choose to do that first or not based on your market test. But you know our driver needs mobile because they need the map to get where they're going. So now you have, from strategy, led to these are the specific deliverables that I need. Each one of these should be able to go into production and bring value to your company. Cool? All right, well, that's all I got for you for today. I went as quickly as I could, and I hope it was valuable for you, Sean. All the best. And I hope it was a good example for all of you out here watching now and in the future, that it was helpful for you to walk through this experience with Sean and I.